everyone, welcome you back to the science class. I hope you all are doing good, right children? So dear students, as you all know that these days we are doing the chapter separation of substances, under which we have come across different methods of separation. Yes? So today the methods which we are going to discuss will be the continuation of the previous topics. So before we get into today's topic, let us recapitulate what all we have done in our previous class. So in our previous class, we have discussed about the process of sedimentation, decantation and threshing. I hope you remember that. Sedimentation, we discussed that it is the method of separating the heavier component of the mixture in the form of sediments. Okay. And decantation, we discussed that decanting the clear water along with the impurities. Clear? So today, as the continuation of the previous methods, we shall be discussing few more methods. Alright. So before we get into, before we discuss the topic, let us look at the objectives.
So the objectives are, at the end of this session, students would able to understand the different methods of separation, that is filtration, evaporation, condensation. Students would able to understand the differences between condensation and evaporation. Students would understand that more than one method could also be used to separate different components of a given mixture.
So the objectives are clear for you all. Children, at the end of this session, you would able to understand the method of filtration and its principle. Okay. Along with that, you will able to understand about evaporation and condensation. And even you will able to understand that sometimes to separate the components of some mixtures, okay, it requires multiple methods. Alright, so let us start with the class. Clear? So today we are going to discuss about filtration, alright, and evaporation. Clear? And one more topic, that is using different methods of separation for separating component from a given mixture. Clear? So let us start with that. So let's start with filtration. So filtration is the method of separating solid insoluble particles from a liquid. So it says that in the process of filtration, what we used to do, we used to separate the solid insoluble component from the liquid mixture. Clear? So, this process, it depends on the size of the particles. I mean to say, filtration, the method of filtration also depends on the size of the particles of insoluble component of the mixture. I mean to say, we shall be exploring this process by some activities as well. So before that, let me explain it to you. We will take the example of liquid tea. Okay, so we all know that tea we used to prepare with the help of different components like the tea leaves, sugar, milk, water. Now the question arises, we cannot take the tea along with the tea leaves. Is it possible? No. None of us are taking the tea along with the tea leaves. So what we are doing? We are separating the tea leaves. So the method of filtration could be used here for separating the tea leaves. Now you see students, the tea leaves are nothing but the solid insoluble component. Fine. Now to separate that, we can make use of a strainer. I'll show you that in an activity. Okay. So we can make use of the strainer. Clear? Now why we can make use of the strainer here? Because the size of the tea leaves are bigger than that of the pores of that strainer. So it becomes easier to separate. Yes, but every time we cannot use the strainer for separating. Let us consider the example of water and soil. If suppose we will take the mixture of water and soil, we will not able to separate it with the help of strainer. Why? Because the particles of the soils, the particle of the soil will be small. Okay, would be small as compared to the pores which are present in the strainer. So strainer we cannot use for doing that. So in place of that, we could make use of a muslin cloth, because the pores between the fibers, between those yarn, you can say, they are smaller. So one more example you can consider, that cottage cheese. Okay, the cottage cheese, making of cottage cheese. You know that Hindi name is paneer. Alright, now how this paneer is made? So paneer, for making this paneer also, people use the filtration process. Means what it is done? First milk is taken, then we used to squeeze lemon, 2-3 drops of lemon there, and then what happened? The solid impurities, or you can say the fats, it will get separate, leaving aside the water. Okay, so that component we can separate with the help of again a muslin cloth. So we can pour the liquid. We will find the liquid as a filtrate. It will get collected in the beaker, and then the solid stuff would collect in that muslin cloth. Okay, so this is the traditional methods which basically we are doing at home. But for suppose again, if suppose we will take if suppose the component, if the solid component is very much fine, alright, it's very much fine, the particles are very small, and it's quite difficult to separate it with the help of muslin cloth or other strainer. In that case, what we use? We use the filter paper. Okay, we use the filter paper. The pores of the filter paper are even very smaller. So from that filter paper, it is easier to filter the mixtures in which the in which the particles of the solid insoluble component are very small. Clear? So thus we can perform in the lab. What we used to do? We used to take one filter paper. Fine. Then we used to take one funnel. Clear? In the funnel, then that mixture, okay, that mixture, that water and the soil or whatsoever it is, soil, that mixture has to be poured, and then we can get the impurities. It will adhere in the filter paper. Alright, and the liquid water will get collected in the beaker as filtrate. That is the clear water. Is that clear? So this is about filtration. So we will understand this method of filtration with some activities. Clear, students? So just look the activities now.
Related to filtration, we shall be doing 2 activities. First, for the tea. Okay, tea is a mixture of these different components: sugar, water, milk, and tea leaves. Alright, so we will be using this mixture to perform the process of filtration. Alright, now here another mixture is there. That mixture we are going to make with soil and water, and again this one also we will use for showing the process of filtration. So here you see, children, these 2 examples we shall be using for showing the process of filtration, but there is a difference. The filter which we will be using in these 2 cases are different. Okay, now what is the reason behind it? As I told you in my explanation that the use of filter means the process of filtration always depends on the size of the particles of insoluble substances. Alright, so in the first case here we can see that the tea leaves, okay, tea leaves are a bit bigger in size. Alright, so for separating the tea leaves we need to use this strainer. So this strainer we will be using it as the filter. Okay, but in this case we need to use the filter as the muslin cloth. Now let us start with this activity. So here, now you look here. What is this? Are you able to identify this? This is cold tea. Alright, this is cold tea. And can you see here down? What are all these? These are the tea leaves. Okay, now see, children, when I mix this, it gets mixed. Now, is it possible for anyone to take this type of tea along with the tea leaves? Are you taking tea along with the tea leaves? No, nobody would prefer to have this type of tea. Okay, we have to separate this tea leaves, and we shall be using this strainer for that. Yes. So now you look, we have separated this solid insoluble particles, okay, from this liquid. Okay, so this is the process of filtration. Is that very clear? So it depends on the size of this particular insoluble substance, that is the tea leaves. Always remember that the filter which we will be using, which we should be using for the process of filtration, the pores of that particular filter should be smaller than that of the particles of the insoluble material. So taking into that point in consideration, we have to decide which filter we are going to use. So here we can see that the tea leaves, they are bigger in size, and the pores here, these are smaller in size. So this is suitable. I hope this is clear for you. Alright, so let us keep it aside. Now, coming back to this activity, here this is garden soil. Alright, now let me make the solution out of it. So some amount of this will mix, and then we'll pour some water. So we'll keep it aside we'll keep it like this for some times. And then let us wait. Now, here again we can find that the mixture, the water is not very clear, and you can see some sand particles being floating. Okay, some sand particles being floating in this mixture. Yes. So now how we are going to separate it? We will not able to separate it with the strainer, because the particles of the solvent are very small. Okay, so in that case, what we are going to use? Let us try it with the muslin cloth. Okay, so here I am pouring it. Yes. So you can see, children, you can see here, you see, this is the solid insoluble particles of the soil. Okay, so this is, with this we have filtered, and we got this water. Alright, but still it is not clear. Okay, it's not clear. So in that case, what we have to do is to make it more clear, we can use the filter papers. Alright, we can use the filter papers. Now, since I have told you that the size of the pore, okay, the size of the pore, it decides the size of the pore of the filter is, it decides what type of filter has to be used for the process of filtration. Clear? So I have mixed here some soil and water. So I tried it with the muslin cloth, and then I got clear water, but it was not very clear. Okay, so in order to make it much more clear, in order to get much more clear water, what we have to do, we have to again pour it through the filter paper, because the filter papers, they have very fine pores. Okay, filter papers are able to separate very small fine particles even. Clear? So that is this is the example of filtration.
Is that clear? This is how we have separated the solid insoluble particles from the liquid stuff. Clear? I hope this is clear to you. So children, I hope you must have understood the process of filtration and the underlying principle behind it. Yes. So to make it more clear, let us look the definitions along with some examples.
Filtration is the process of separating solid particles from a liquid by passing through a filter or pores of filter paper. Fruits and vegetable juices are also filtered like this. Sometimes filter paper can also be used for filtration of certain substances.
So now children, let's discuss the second method, that is evaporation. This word evaporation you must have got in your lower classes, okay? And you must be clear what is the meaning of evaporation, right? But still let us read once again. So evaporation means the process in which water gets converted from liquid to vapor. So we will be taking one very common example, that is obtaining salt from seawater. Okay, we get the salt from the seawater by this evaporation process. Okay, we will be discussing later on. So just now, as I have told you, that evaporation is nothing but conversion of liquid into vapor. Alright, so you can take the example just to make it more clear. We can do one activity. Okay, that activity I will be showing you one video soon after this explanation. Clear? So what you can do, you can take a beaker, pour some water into it and then put some salt and then keep on stirring it. Then put that over the flame and let it boil, let it boil, let it boil. Okay, it will keep on boiling and boiling and we will see that the water is evaporating. The water is evaporating or the vapors rises up. Okay, so here the water has get converted into the vapor. So to understand this, let us watch this video.
When we have a mixture of salt in water to separate, we take this solution in a kettle and cover it with a lid. Now gently heat the kettle for some time. Heating transforms water into vapor that escapes from the spout of kettle. Continue heating till all the water gets converted into vapor and only salt is left behind in the kettle. Thus salt dissolved in water can be separated from the water through this process. This process of conversion of water into vapor by heating is called evaporation.
So to make it more clear, let us look the definitions along with some examples.
Evaporation, the process of conversion of water from liquid to vapor, is called evaporation. For example, when salt is mixed with water, the water is heated until all the water becomes vapor and only the salt is left behind.
So I hope you have enjoyed the video. Yes. So now children, do you know the salt which we are eating? Okay, what is the name of that salt? That is, what is that? Common salt. Okay, and chemically it is known as sodium chloride. Clear? That salt we get it from the seawater, but it is not that we can directly consume that. Okay, it has to undergo many purification process. Clear? So what happens actually, the water, the salty water, means the seawater, it contains different types of salt. Okay, it contains different salts. So what happens actually, that water is allowed to stand in shallow pits. Okay, shallow pits. So you see I have drawn a drawing here. So this type of shallow pits are made at the seashore, and then these pits, the seawater is allowed to stand here. Okay, and due to the heat, gradually, slowly the water starts to get evaporate. Okay, and then it keeps on evaporating and evaporating, and then the solid salt, it remains in those pits. Now, the common salt is obtained from those shallow pits. It gets first purified and then only it can be used. So, to understand this method, I have one more video to show you all. Just enjoy the video. Dear students, I hope you have understood the process of evaporation. Yes? Clear? So, now let us discuss different methods to be used for separating different components of a given mixture. That is the third topic. Alright, now till now we have discussed that that mixtures, okay, we are using only one method to separate the mixtures. Sorry, only one method to separate the components of given mixture. Yes, we have discussed the mixture of pulse and pebbles. Yes, so we have used the hand picking, only one method. Clear? Then again for separating gram flour with some kind of impurities, that also with the help of sieving we did. Again, one method we used, isn't it? So for filtration also, suppose we want to remove the tea leaves from that tea, there also we use that process of filtration, only one process. But sometimes we can make use of different process also to separate the different component of a given mixture. Is that clear? So now here we shall be discussing that. Okay. So what actually is done? First, that salt, sand and water, it has to be mixed together and we will get the mixture. So what we will do in the very first step we will start with the sedimentation. Sedimentation. Now, are you getting which component will get separated out by this sedimentation process? Which will be separated? If we will pour water in salt and sand, okay, we will get a mixture. Fine. So now, first what we will do after mixing it with water, we will very nicely stir it and then we will keep that beaker aside for some time. Alright, undisturbed. Then after some time what we will observe is the sand being heavier, it will get settled down. Yes, so it gets settled down. Then we can take a filter paper and then we pour that that clear water, and then we will get that sand. Yes, that is the process of sedimentation. We will separate the sediment out of there. So we get the sand as the first component. So sedimentation, we will use this process sedimentation for removing the sand. Alright. So now next which method we will use? Now the sand is get separated. Now the water which we got, the clear water, okay, the clear water we have decanted. So second step we used, yes, the second method we used, decantation, yes, we have decanted that. Now what we have to do again next to separate salt and water? So definitely the process of evaporation will come under play, isn't it? So next process would be evaporation. Evaporation. So in this process what will happen? In this process salt will get separate. Yes, the salt will get separate. Means we will keep on boiling that water, the clear water along with the soil. We will put it in a kettle and then we will boil it. Then after some time what will happen? The water will start to convert into the steam or rather vapor. So what we are going to do now? This steam is nothing but the water only, isn't it? The water. So this water is boiling now, and it has get converted into the vapor. Now this vapor, how we will separate the vapor? There is no process how to separate the vapor. Okay. Now what we can do is we have to convert this vapor into the liquid form. Now do you remember the process? Which process is that? Conversion of vapor into liquid. What is that? That is condensation, right? So what you have to do is to take a plate. Okay, you have to take a plate, put some ice cubes, and then with the plier you hold and keep that plate near the mouth of that spout of the kettle. Okay, so you keep it there. Now when the vapor will come out, the vapor will it will come in contact with that colder surface of that plate. Okay, the colder surface of the plate, and then it will get converted into water. Do you understand? This is the process of condensation. Alright, So it will get converted into water and then water is get separated. Clear? So water has also got separated. Now what is left in the kettle? The salt has left out, isn't it? So you see these three different components, they are very clearly get separated from each other by using the three different processes. First we started with the sedimentation, second evaporation, then followed by condensation. Yes? Okay? So these are the three different steps which we have used, means the different processes which we have used in separation of the different component from a given mixture. Clear, students? So you can we can write like this. Evaporation will help in separation of salt. Then we can add here condensation. The process of condensation. The process of condensation will result in separation of water. Okay? So we can see that there are these three different steps involved. Okay? The three different steps involved which has separated the different component of a mixture differently. So this is how we can use different methods to separate different component of a mixture. Clear? So to make your understanding much more clear, I have one more video to show you.
To separate common salt and sand from their mixture. Things required: a little amount of common salt and sand mixture, water, filter paper, 2 beakers, a kettle, a metal plate, some ice, Bunsen burner. Procedure: take some water in a beaker and add some amount of the mixture of common salt and sand. Stir the water with mixture well and then leave the beaker aside for some time. It leads to the sedimentation of sand particles on the bottom of the beaker. Carefully separate sand apart from water through the process of decantation and keep the solution obtained after decantation in another beaker. You may also filter the solution to separate the sand from the water. For filtration, you will require a filter paper. So far, we have separated sand from the mixture. Now, we have to separate common salt from the solution. Pour the solution of water and common salt into a kettle. Cover the kettle with a lid. Heat the kettle for some time on the Bunsen burner. You will observe steam coming out from the spout of the kettle. Take a metal with some ice on it and hold it above the spout of the kettle with the help of pliers. You will observe that the steam coming out of the spout of the kettle, when touches the cool metal plate, gets condensed and changes into liquid water.
So now, I hope all these processes are clear to you all. Yes? So dear students, I think this is enough for today. I would like to wind up, but before that, let us revise what all we have done in this session. So in this class, we have discussed about the process filtration, yes, and the process of evaporation and condensation. Okay, the filtration, we discussed that it is the process in which the solid insoluble components get separated from the liquid, okay, from the liquid mixture. Clear? And then we discussed about evaporation. Evaporation is the process in which water gets converted from liquid state to the vapor state. Clear, students? And then regarding condensation, we have discussed it is the process in which the vapors get converted into liquid when it comes in contact with the cold surface. Alright, and at the end we have discussed different methods can be used for separating the different components of a given mixture. I hope it is very clear to you all. Yes, children? So for today, I would like to wind up. Thank you so much for listening to me. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you in the next class.